Hi, I'm Bill Strickland, and I'm very honored to be able to make this presentation about my work that has dominated most of my adult life. I started off in this neighborhood where I live and ultimately will pass away, hopefully in many, many years to come. But it started really with my fascination with ceramics and my fascination with a teacher who literally saved my life. And his name was Frank Ross. He taught ceramics at our high school. And I ended up becoming intoxicated with ceramics and more intoxicated with him and the way in which he approached living life. He indicated that he felt that in spite of my background as a poor inner city kid, I had ability, I had talent, and Frank Ross once said to me, I'm not going to let you die and go to prison like your buddies, you're going to college. And so with his encouragement, I applied to the University of Pittsburgh, got in as a probationary student. The better news is I graduated with honors. Now I'm a trustee of that university, and I got an honorary PhD. And at the commencement address, when they gave me the PhD, I said, don't give up on the poor kids. They might not get a PhD at the commencement address for the kid who got in here on probation. So the story and the message is hope is the cure for cancer of the human spirit. And my center, now almost 50 years old, was built to encapsulate that spirit, including vocational education, which I took over in 1972. So what I've built these days is a world-class training center and a world-class art center, and I've brought them together under the headline of Manchester Bidwell Corporation with about 110 employees who work full-time, working with hundreds of students in the employment environment and also the cultural environment. And we've enjoyed very high rates of graduation and, more importantly, very high rates of employment for those students who came here. Our school is non-tuition, but it's not free. We just don't charge tuition, but there are very rigorous standards that we insist upon in terms of behavior and performance from our students, and that has impressed the Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies that we've worked with over the years, and that's why we've built a reputation as a school of innovation, a school of creativity, and a school that looks past race and concentrates on economics. Because at the end of the day, we believe it's not your economic condition that's going to determine your future. It's going to be the opportunity that you take to harvest the opportunities that come your way and be smart enough to take advantage of these opportunities and convert them into a life plan. We've gotten very good at it here at Manchester Bidwell, and we've gotten very good at it in terms of replicating this concept in 13 centers now around the world, including Akko, Israel, and Chicago, and San Francisco, and Cincinnati, and Grand Rapids, and Buffalo, etc. And so we know definitively that this process that we have perfected at Manchester Bidwell in Pittsburgh is exportable. We can actually codify this behavior and we can export it to other communities looking to do the same thing. The bigger part of the story for the conference is how do we get and encourage innovation in business to take technology, the Amazons and the Costco's of the world, and employ these innovative strategies and innovative solutions to people who are very much in need of this messaging. And we think we have a prototype dialed in the work that we're doing in Pittsburgh. now embraced by the conference itself, that will be presented on November 18th. And so we are very confident that we have a strategy, a plan, and a team of people who have now become convert of this work, and I think have become disciples of carrying this message forward. So the message to innovative companies is follow the Manchester Bidwell lead as a corporation that is dedicated to promoting and enhancing and replicating what hope looks like, particularly for distressed communities that are accustomed to being looked at as assets rather than liabilities. And we think that our work demonstrating that liabilities really are assets in disguise is the message that most companies that are going to survive in the future will carbon copy. And we're very excited to be a part of this new movement. And we also believe that if there's going to be an answer spiritually to COVID, it will be found in the work that we are now doing with communities of color, with communities that have been traditionally forgotten by the virus, SARS included, by the way. But we also think that this is a prototype for best practices that can be copied by some of the great companies in the world. And if I were aspirational with all of you, I would hope that we would be included in one of those aspirational companies as sure as I'm giving this talk and making this video. To give you a very specific example, in the old days, Bidwell Training Center was a vocational school, but we did traditional carpentry, bricklaying, and electrical wiring. A year after I built this wonderful center that we now occupy, I shut down all the building trades programs and dug up brand new concrete because there was a collapse in the building trade industry, and we felt morally we could not train people for work that no longer existed. So we retrofitted a brand new building and went into the service industry. And IBM was on the climb back then. They adopted us as one of their national programs. We became a partner with IBM and became one of their top, if not the top, IBM computer training programs in the United States of America. And we won regional awards from the Department of Labor for our innovation and our partnership with IBM. And then Bayer, the chemical company, got wind of the innovative work we were doing with IBM, and they decided to partner with us in the chemical industry. So we rounded up Calgon Carbon, BASF, now Covestro, and so forth, Nova Chemical, PPG, Heinz Labs, etc. And we created the first nationally certified chem tech program in a community setting that had ever existed in the United States of America, and it's still going strong. So the message here is we were able to take our prototype and experience with IBM, replicate it with the Bayer company, now Covestro, and that became the prototype of how to partner with Fortune 100 companies and Fortune 500 companies, so that we formed a partnership with these companies. And that is how today we develop strategy to build new programs. The common sense solution is you start with the employer and you work your way back. So that we took the guesswork out of building curriculum. We got the employers to design the curriculum with us. So in effect, they were seeding their own employment base and had a direct alignment with what we were doing and what they needed. Called common sense, but it's turned out to be very successful and earned us 4 cases at the Harvard Business School, and the only other person to earn 4 cases was Steve Jobs. So it earned us a lot of prominence for applying common sense solutions to partnering with industry, which I would suggest if any of you get motivated to want to do this work, that is a piece of the formula that you must embrace on the front end. Get the corporations involved, get them excited. Also, the way I built my board of directors was through the partnership with a number of these companies. So we took the guesswork out of how to build boards. We got the partners from these companies to serve on the board of the center that was providing them with employees. So it was a closed circle that's turned out to be very successful, and that's how I was able to build a world-class training center that had never existed in this part of the world prior to my arrival. So it became sort of the Pittsburgh miracle. The center was designed by a student of Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect. So we have a world-class training center in the middle of what used to be an inner city, given up for dead community that was now thriving and was used as the prototype for the Pittsburgh airport. So we've earned our stripes. We've built a world-class facility. We've partnered with Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies, and we think that we've created a global strategy and a global innovation strategy that can be replicated, certainly in the cities that we've opened up now, but we think this is a prototype possibly for the rest of the world. Well, as an African American student from the neighborhood, by the way, where I work, I know what poverty feels like. And it's the spiritual damage of not being employed that is the most devastating. And so what I developed in my own personal experience was a cure for the spiritual destruction that unemployment breeds. It robs you of your pride. It robs you of your ability to feed your own children. It robs you of your ability to feel like you have value, that life is worth living, and so forth. That was why we specifically built a world-class facility with no used equipment, etc., so that people who came here, the students who enrolled here, would walk in the door with their head up, being valued as assets, and we found that that cured the cancer of the human spirit, and then we were able to get them gainful employment, and 2 years or 3 years later, these were people who were coming back and showing us their certificates of success with the companies and their promotional incomes, the income that they were now making, and they were smiling. In many cases, they had bought mortgages and purchased mortgages and built homes. And so we were able to demonstrate that we could get rid of this dark cloud that really enveloped many, if not all, of the students who came here. We could cure the disease. So it is not just an employment program, it's a spiritual rehabilitation strategy disguised as an employment program. And it also applies to the people who we work with in the arts, because we were clever enough to figure out that if the students are disaffected from academic education, maybe the way that you cure them is to not teach academics, but to teach creativity. And if they invest in creativity, the academics will fall into place. And that has become true for our arts program, which is co-merged with the vocational program. So what I've created is a culture way of doing rehabilitation of the human spirit, the creative spirit, all within the context of vocational rehabilitation, creative rehabilitation, and a coexistence of adults and students who now learn from each other, borrow ideas from each other, and collectively have created a community that is filled with sunlight and hope in a place that is not associated with light. It's usually associated with dark. But we've cured that problem permanently. And all the centers that we built follow the same architecture, the same high standards, etc. And so their formula is to bring hope to communities that apparently have lost it. But the good news is they haven't lost it. We've found a way to bring it back to life. The Manchester Craftsman's Guild program is really based on my own personal autobiography because I was the black kid who got excited about ceramics at my Oliver High School, which is located actually about 6 blocks from where my center is. I got pretty good at clay, and then I built the center in the 60s so I could replicate my experience with other kids from the Pittsburgh public school system, and that's been going now for almost 50 years. It's worked out very successfully, but we've expanded into ceramics, photography, digital imaging, and nowadays digital design and computer-aided design. And so the students now come in hundreds to this program, and we've also added a music hall. We built a 350-seat music hall that has featured the likes of Herbie Hancock, Wynton Marsalis, Dizzy Gillespie, Max Roach, Billy Taylor, Carmen McRae, Shirley Horn, Betty Carter, etc. So the world's greatest artists have come here and played to sold-out audiences in the middle of the inner city. Those concerts have won us 5 Grammys, so we're the world-class record company with 5 Grammy awards to our credit. So it's jazz on the one end, ceramics in the middle, and digital imaging that completes our philosophy of how music and clay can be directly connected in terms of spirit, in terms of outcomes, and in terms of results. The other thing I will mention is that same philosophy drove me to want to build a greenhouse on the vocational side, and we now grow Phalaenopsis orchids for the retail and wholesale market, and we sell them in high-end grocery stores and high-end customers. And that has added a financial dimension to our orchid facility, and it's also added a way of having greenhouse students that populate our horticultural program, and we have now a regional training center in horticulture. So it's horticulture training. We took number 1 in the pavilion for the convention center in our display, and so our students are winning awards in our presentation of horticulture, our presentation at the pavilion, at the convention center, and we're taking awards for the quality of our orchids. So we're winning awards for orchids, we're winning awards for jazz, we're winning awards for our ceramics program, etc. And yours truly, as the result of all of this work, won the Lifetime Achievement Award in Ceramic Arts. So we're very excited not just to be involved with a world-class program, but that world-class program is starting to win world-class recognition. And we believe that if there is an answer to this problem, we have now built the outline of why this strategy really does work. You have to put innovation and creativity at the core of your strategy and not think out of the box, build a new box. And that's what we have done so successfully in our world here at Manchester Bidwell. We don't think there's anything strange about growing orchids in the same facility that creates jazz, in the same facility that creates digital imaging, that works with homeless people, that works with ex-convicts, works with people who have been economically deprived, etc. We blend that together, and out of that mixture, out of that integration of all of these people and all of these experiences and all these races and cultural amalgamation, we have come up with a solution that we believe is transferable to many, many parts of the world. And for that, we remain very, very excited. The other benefit, of course, is the employers seeing no bureaucracy here at Manchester Bidwell. We are very thin on that part of the story, but very large on performance. And so we're winning our kudos on being able to demonstrate that we can turn out world-class employees, whether it's in culture, where our students are going to college in very, very high numbers, or in our cultural programs, winning scholarships, etc. And we have one of our students who's just won a 4-year ride to a very prestigious university here in the Pittsburgh region. And so we know that this is now breaking good for a lot of people that were written off as too high risk, too incapable of success. We are breaking those walls down in very significant numbers. In fact, we have now, or will quickly become, the Center for Robotic Cars. Argo has now discovered Bidwell, and Argo is one of the forefront leaders in the robotic car movement. And they've decided, because of the way in which we've demonstrated the ability to train people for industry, they would like to develop a prototype for Manchester Bidwell to do the same thing with robotic cars. So in the early days, you talk to IBM about computer training, you talk to Heinz about food preparation, you talk to Covestro and Bayer and Calgon Carbon and PPG about chemical technicians, and years later we're talking to Argo about building robotic cars in a workforce that can contribute to that conversation. And the reason Argo picked us is they liked the way in which we were innovative and creative in the way that we think about education, and we think that that's a winning solution. The answer is you can never give up. And the moral of the story is you have to be determined enough to develop a brand that is scalable. And if this work looks easy, it is not easy. We've made it look easy because that's part of our job, is to bring into the conversation people that would once have been discarded as throwaways or afterthoughts are now central to the philosophy that we have discovered and that we're now trying to codify. So the message is, it's a message of hope and aspiration, and it's a message for students of history that you can alter the trajectory of history by changing the people who make that history. And we're doing that very successfully at Manchester Bidwell. And the things I'm proudest of is the fact that we have been able to do this apparently almost seamlessly and in a way that very few centers in the world have been able to do, with the length of time we've done it and in the way in which we've done it and the survival strategy that we've put together that's allowed this to become an iconic figure in the vocational space, in the arts and creative space, and in the future robotic technology space, all of which are now coming our way. So we're very excited about the developments that are coming and the developments that are coming to our way as the result of students buying into the philosophy that we have created here at Manchester Bidwell. So I feel very honored to be designated as the founder and executive chairman of one of the world's great companies doing innovation and rehabilitation of the human spirit. And we call that Manchester Bidwell Corporation, and very proud of the model that it's created in this part of the world. The moral of the story, the message is, you can do this. It's very flattering to think that I'm the only African American in the world who could build a world-class training center in a poor neighborhood. That's not true. You can do it all right, but you have to be determined. You can never give up. and you can never say that this would never have happened without your input. So my message to all of you is, you can do this, and you don't need any hand-holding. You just need encouragement. So you too become a believer in your own philosophy. And if you can believe in your own philosophy, others will come with you in your journey. If you don't believe that, you'll never be able to accomplish one step in your journey, and you'll never become the assets that we know that you're capable of, and I know that you're capable of. And so we wish you well as now becoming a part of your life, your strategy, and certainly one of mine, for which I'm very, very proud.